Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and I've got my main man, my business partner, my friend, my golf buddy, so many different things. How you doing, my man, Conrad?
Doing great, Austin. Good to talk to you on this platform. I know we talk a lot and I got a lot of things going on, so getting back on here is a treat.
No, for sure. And I think Chase is on next week, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, he said next week.
Next week. And you said you had some topics that you wanted. I think, funny enough, even though we don't jam on topics all the time, I think your topics are right on kind of what's in my head too. So I'm gonna let you lead off, but it's kind of what I've been thinking too. So what's on the old noodle these days?
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff we have going on and stuff we're also individually working on yet. Some of the stuff you and I just keep talking about, whether it's about golf, business, life, country music, it comes back to kind of like the longer term picture and some of the things that come along with focusing on building something substantial and great. And one thing we've done very well together as a group is keeping the values in alignment front and center. When things get hard, it's always kind of taking a step back, shifting the perspective more towards the macro, further out, instead of getting caught down in some of the weeds. And having the right values and team alignment to do that has allowed us to go through an interesting year together in terms of buying a business, you being there to run it, and the myriad of issues that have come up with that process all over the place in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm. It's we're talking about today on the ops call. I think one of the things that, stress can consume you, right, as a leader in a business, right? But every time I feel like I've reached my limit, like I'm like, I don't know. I go, hey, you got 46 families to feed. Okay. You got to pull your shit. You got to pull your shit together. You got to rise above this. And it's that thing that keeps me to the core of what we believe in. It's the thing. It's not, hey, I need to drive profit this month. It's no, I got to feed these families. And so to take it back to the basic really centers me.
For sure. That's that perspective, right? You could be overwhelmed by like, these are all my problems and it affects 46 families. And you could just invert that and say, well, this is only my problem. It's small in the grand scheme of things. And by me focusing too focus on this little problem of me, I lose sight of the potential of helping all these other people and looking at it in a bigger perspective and zooming out also gives you room to breathe as well as understand the gravity of the situation. Yes, it's a lot. And at the same time, it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. So, and making that a reality, you can focus on it.
One of the things I tell my clients is like, does it even matter? Like really at the end of the day, does any of this stuff matters? I mean, it's so ridiculous, the BS that we let go through our head. And it's like, really, like I think about all the situations when I was like 18, 19, 21, like I thought the world was going to fall apart. Like, and so, yeah. And so like, what's interesting is like 5 years ago, I was drunk and I'm like, dude, what a blessing to be even in this position to lead 46 families. And so it's always about, like you said, zooming out, creating, because at the end of the day, I think the thing that I found most is that we're all trying to get to the same place, but how we get there for everybody is totally different. But if you can remember then that we're all trying to get to the same place, everybody can kind of calm down.
Right. And that's where that alignment comes, the values, like we all share values in getting it done and how to get it done. And like we go back to a book we reference a lot, the who, not how, right? The how and like focusing on the how can create a ton of stress. And in the fog of war, things are going on. It's so easy to get trapped in it tactically. What do I have to do? As opposed to, all right, we're going to figure it out. I have a belief in figuring it out. I have the right people around me going in the right direction with the same values to figure it out. let's just sit on that and believe in that, as opposed to I need to be the technical expert on everything, or I need to know everything. That's just one way of potentially looking at it.
And this is a big concept framework I haven't really thought out totally, but I wrote a post today and I said, okay, so let me get this straight. At 19 employees, we were crazy busy as a company, right? So at 46 employees, we're crazy busy as a company, right? And don't get me wrong, we've affected a website and there's some strategic plans and we've got more efficient in the business. Like, yes, those things have happened, but somehow we're just as busy, if not more busy, with the amount of clients. So I got to thinking, do you reach to your capacity that you set in front of you, or do you scale up slowly and then hope you get there, right? Like, that's a weird thing to think about. Like, space and busy and all that stuff finds a place, because there's days where we're like, oh my God, we got all these people. We still don't have enough people to get the job done.
Right.
So my question, I got to thinking, I haven't totally formed this idea. Like, do you hope you bring the business and then you scale up, hoping you find the people, or do you find the people and then catch the business up with it? It's a weird concept.
It is, and I don't know if there's a right answer, right? It could come back to, the philosophical aspect of it or the strategic aspect. Do you find the right people and hire them no matter what, and then build with them and grow, values and alignment? Or do you wait until it comes to you and be more reactive to it and respond to it instead of having the plan and intention to grow? It's that difference between, can you make it work or will you make it work? Sure, anyone can do it, but are you going to? Will you do it? And that decisiveness and belief, it comes from, yes, the individual. You're out there leading everybody, as well as we've got some great leaders in that aspect. And it comes from that belief and knowing we've got the right people on the team, that if we were to hire them, we can go grow. We can make things happen, as opposed to we need to see it happen before we believe in it to invest in it. Mm-hmm. And that time may never come.
Well, and I think one of the things that Darren, our other business partner, is asking for is, like, just make sure that all the decisions that we're making when it comes to financial cost lead to revenue generating activities. I think if you treat that as your North Star, okay, so I'm going to hire this guy, he's going to cost this much, but I'm going to put him in a car that's going to cost this much, and then he's going to make me this much in a month. Okay, well, I could see the tangible ROI there. It's when there's wild cost in the gray area out in the ether, you're looking out and you're going, oh, okay.
You've got a lot of gray ether costs we've uncovered too.
Well, I think until you actually run a business this size, right? I don't think you understand the book Profit First, until you actually run a business this size. He's saying, okay, basically, for anybody that hasn't read it, think of your big bank account for a business as a tube of toothpaste. And when you first get the tube of toothpaste, you squeeze it, you give everybody toothpaste, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you get down to the end of the toothpaste, you're rubbing it on the elbow, you're squeezing it, you're scrimping it, you're getting the last toothpaste. He said, if you take money out of the business and you put it away, you learn to run a more lean business. I could see at this scale, how these owners, and I'm just talking about people that you buy from, or other owners that have been in business for a long time, they're paying for their boat. They're paying for this thing, this trip. I could see how all of a sudden these 100,000, 200,000 of cost could really jump up on you if you're not paying attention.
Right. And there's so much to unpack there, right? It's like the reinvestment in the business, because we also have a longer term, kind of perspective on where we want to go to have the impact we all want to reach. And if we're not fueling the thing that's going to get there, whether it's the business or the investments in real estate in the future and some other things, and the people, we're not there yet. And sure, you could take money out of the business, and maybe that individual small business owner has hit where they want to go, their vision of themselves. And our mission kind of catapults us a little beyond that. And so having Darren and the others look at profit first and making sure things have a tangible outcome is good. And then you could even say, at a business of this size or in this growth period up until X number of revenue, probably 8-9 figures, there's going to be a lot of direct correlation between, if I do this, I get money back. And until you reach that limit, it's kind of like the demand or the direct response versus branding. The other one is not the best use of your ROI. But as we're seeing with some of these other bigger companies, they're investing in education, learning, and things that have a payback period of 3, 5, 10, and who knows how long, that will establish them as a brand and with the values that they have to the rest of the world to attract people that isn't directly I spend X money on Yelp, I get this much back, or I get this many more reviews on Google, boom. Or to your point about a truck, that has a pretty fixed return on investment, but at the same time, it's positive, and getting enough of those allows us to continue to grow the machine.
And I think the most important thing that come out of this year is like, just because you're making money doesn't mean you're keeping it. Just because there's projects being sold doesn't mean that they're the right projects, right? When you're doing a 3% margin or a 10% margin project, there's not a lot of room for error, and so really getting granular on your numbers and understanding what a profitable project looks like, then setting that example and then doing it over and over and over and over and over again is really, because honestly, like a small business, for lack of a better word, is like watching paint dry. It's boring as fuck. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, the guys come in, they go out every day, and they either they fix plumbing, they install heat, or they install AC, or they fix electrical. That's what we do. And we have to do it over and over and over and over again, over and over and over and over again. That's it. That's all you do, over and over and over again.
And getting good at that, great at it, it comes with time too. Like, you could be effective just being someone who gets it done. It might not be efficient. Efficiency comes from doing it maybe quicker, more profitably. And then there's like a third one, called ease, where you have all those things working together in time. And like, revenue isn't all created equal. I think a lot of people listening to this would understand that. Even profit isn't created equal, because there's a lot of style points that go into it. And those style points are the foundation of the business or the culture you're building, in the sense that this is what kind of service line we're in. It generates more profit. That's good. Here's our SOP. Okay, it's more efficient. But maybe those style points of the quality comes from, we don't want to work with these types of customers or this area. And this is the types of things we want to do, so that, one, we can make those numbers hit the metrics, but also it's good for our employees, it's good for our brand, it's good for our culture, because it's where we want to be and see our future going.
And I think what's interesting is not all customers are created equal. I just spent the last 5 days, or 5 days out of 3, taking all the different divisions out to breakfast in the morning, like breakfast with the boss, like the plumbing, commercial, and service. They're so different. Oh my God. The personality of these people are so opposite. You can tell who deals with the customers every day. You could tell that. And you could tell who deals with maintenance guys in empty buildings. Like, you could tell. It's just different crews, right? And so that's the same thing for the customer. We have commercial customers, and they long agreements, a lot of different maintenance. There's big things, and then it's, hey, sewage is dumping into my house, I need you to get over here ASAP. So understanding the different dynamics and the different psychology, there's so many different personalities just in a single kind of register of a customer / employee. There's just so many different things going on.
Right? Like, how you decide to focus your business efforts or getting more or less of those customers can then dictate what kind of people you need, what kind of training, what kind of values the company as a whole needs, as well as the division, for it to be a fit, just so that it can grow organically and be something that has a chance to go to 10, 20, 100 million. Because if those things are kind of misaligned, it makes each increment up a little more challenging, in theory, because you're not aware of who you are, or at least aware of how those different things translate to business and life success.
And I think one of the things that are different is that there's no chance that you're ever going to be able to put out or handle every fire that exists to you. And I would say, and I'm trying not to use this word, but numbness, like, is like it you have to, like, and what I mean by that is, like, when we send 350 grand worth of bills out in a day, and you're just like, okay, this is like the normal. Oh, and then we have like 300 grand come in. You're just like, okay, this is what we do, and so you just become so numb to it. And that's not even the problems. You're just talking about regular finance bills. Oh, we got a $1.7 million job, and this is how much we're going to get paid, but we're not getting really good. So you kind of just become like absolutely numb to the whole thing. And I would imagine when you get up to 50, 25, 100 million, you're kind of like, okay, great. These are the aggregate of all these things are going to make this number at the end of the year. And I would imagine when you get to that scale, you're living much more in a monthly report than you are the day-to-day at the top.
The hour to hour, even going back to like April, I would imagine for you. And it's like the difference between empathy and sympathy, right? Empathy, you understand it. Sympathy, you feel the same way as a person. And like coming in, it might have had that energetic or emotional charge. And as you do more of it, you adapt. Humans are very adaptive. When you adapt to that problem or the situation or the opportunity, it just keeps going up from there as it grows.
Mm-hmm. My favorite thing of all time, this entire year, by no, it will not change. I don't care what happens in the next 2 months, was when we're trying to save a $1.6 million plumbing job, and I'm pulling rabbits out of my hats. I'm negotiating. I got this crazy contract. I need this guy to agree to this whole thing that I haven't talked to in 3 months. He doesn't even like me that much. And now I got to gain his trust back. And it's Jay's commissions on the line, like all these things. And we're riding down to Pittsburgh in my truck to go to this meeting that I set up to like get this guy to agree to it. And I looked over at Jay and I was like, Jay, isn't this a blast? And he's like, no, right. It's not. He's like, no, it's not. But then I think about that James Franco meme where he's got the noose around the neck and he goes, oh, this is your first time. Yeah. And like, I go, this is so cool. I have no idea if we're going to make it or not. And like, he was like, I don't find this amusing at all. And I was like, yeah, right. but I've been here a million times, like it was kind of cool.
And it takes that level of crazier outlook, let's call it, on the world and life to be able to go at it full steam ahead, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, and to be able to look at the challenges as fun. And like it is a game, and the game has real results. Jay, in that example, you got to be aware of how it comes off to him. Yet, if we can't look at it like a game and it's fun and we're leveling up or doing this, it ain't fun. It is going to be like terrible and stressful.
Here's what's crazy, right? Jay knows me for almost 5 months now. He's never seen like the negotiating side of me yet. And I sit down at the table and the guy's like, hey, do you mind if I like take this home and think on it? And I said, yeah, you're not going anywhere. I said, what's it going to take me to get this damn thing done right now? And he goes, 20 grand more. I said, done. And he walks away and Jay looks at me, he goes, holy shit. He goes, I never seen you. He goes, I never seen you like that. I go, dude, when I get locked in on something, I am going to make the outcome necessary, and so,
tenacious.
It's like I tell him, like, give me the range I can work in. Tell me where we're, I think my quintessential thing is tell me where we can make it work. Tell me where we're okay with it. And then tell me where we're ecstatic. Like that's my 3 barrels and I'll hit it in one of those marks and I'll see where we go,
It'll be fun, right?
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it too, because values and alignment are often business terms and like mission statements and all that. And like you need it to attract the right people. Yet beyond business comes having that richness of life, the depth of the experience. And these moments where they may be stressful are often a sign as well that it's a meaningful moment. And like this outcome has some meaning to it. And the process of it may not be fun yet, but it can be. And so like extending that concept beyond business and seeing the challenges that come with it and the opportunities it provides is just a lot of fun, because that richness of life, you got to experience things, you got to try, you got to at least start with identifying what you want to do, even if you don't fully know who you are. I know identity is a big thing. And at that same time, you got to do the work. Like we've talked about this a few times on our calls. It's like, there's a big gap between like learned and earned experience. Learn, you go in a book. It's very academic. You could read things and have the knowledge spit out like an installation manual. Earned is that experiential living it and doing it. I think you showed me the podcast from Herb Southwest. He's like, yeah, we have a strategy. It's called doing things. And there's such a chasm between the learned experience, like what you could read in a book, versus earning it. Because, I mean, from your experience, you could probably enlighten everyone here in that within a year, you've probably earned and learned more stuff than you could have possibly done reading every book. And like, that's that gap that once you cross it enough times, it's fun. It doesn't mean it's easy.
I feel 80 now. I feel like I've been to like 10 MBAs, like, and Jay pulled, and he'll listen to this, but Jay pulled me aside yesterday and he said, or the other day, and he said, like, you amaze me how you can stay positive through all this year and everything you've been through and still be getting it every day. And what people don't know is that you can't beat me, but not for the reasons that you even think or even know or even care to ask. The reason you can't beat me is because 20 years I was a fucking alcoholic and I was living a mediocre life. And instead of having God take me away and fucking dying, I made a promise to myself that I would never, ever take a day off. And I don't mean in the sense of like grind every day. I meant if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. That's the one rule, because I spent my entire life half starting 100 things. So when you're a competitor or you're somebody going up against me, you don't know that about me. You don't know that I have that internal oath with myself that doesn't allow me to not show up every day for my team, for myself, for my family. And so because you don't know that about me, it's going to be really hard to compete.
And that level of motivation and belief is very hard to find. I think that's why a lot of people gravitate towards it. You've got an infectious energy about just tackling the day with full speed ahead.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will tell you the biggest lesson for me is that in order to scale a company, you no longer get to be involved in the praise. And let me break it down to you. So if somebody's going to get a raise, even though I'm the one that hired them and I'm the one that molded them, I got to let their manager do it. Because the manager's
Chain of command,
and Ryan has to remind me of that every time. And I'm like, I really like the glory of that, seeing their face. So that has been a learned lesson for me to say, okay. Yes, I could do that, or I could go to that meeting, but do I really need to be there? I could speak up, but if I speak up in that meeting, are they going to speak less because I'm there? Right? Like that's the evolution. That's the next next year. That's what we're headed into.
Oh yeah. That's it's a fun challenge, right? Like the weight of your words and presence has a totally different meaning than even a few months ago, because you've earned the trust, the respect as the leader. When someone talks who's in that position, it just means something. You may not know it. Yet having that awareness to step back and, pump the brakes a little and let the other person, Ryan in this case, or whomever else is a leader, be the leader and the supervisor and deliver it. That's also the mark of a great leader, and something we're going to want all of them to do as this thing continues to grow.
And I think people don't understand there's games being played at all times. And I don't mean games in like I'm messing with people. I mean, like some days I work from home. It's not because I need to, it's because I'm trying to let them step up into their shadow or into their own, understanding of what's what. Like, because I realize as an owner and a CEO and a management is that they have to understand how I would make a decision if I was there. When they have a grasp on that decision, look, this is what, and God, I'm talking about them a lot. Hey, dude, don't get your head, okay, Jay? Because, but
JK47 tuning in.
But Jay will go. I've given him full autonomy. Jay will go. This is what we did to the customer. Okay, this is what happened 2 years ago or whatever. This is what I did to fix it. I feel great about it. What do you think? Like he's already seen the problem, saw the problem, fixed it, didn't ask for my approval. And I said, sounds great. You did great. Like, boom. Now we created something special.
Right. I mean, you move in from micromanaging, you got to run everything through me and I got to approve every decision, which doesn't scale. And it's horrible for leaders and employees. To, all right, you've been empowered. Now go, you can use me for support or coaching, go do it. Now it's at the last layer of leadership. You're just delegating and Jay's running with it. Ryan runs with it. And you come back and the coaching is more around the decision and what impact that had versus you making a decision or having the courage to step up and make the call from like Jay or Ryan perspective, which they do great. And so that's how you can lead a leadership team as opposed to having to be the all-star every single day, making all the decisions.
Because really, at the end of the day, what cracks me up, I was making this joke all week. So think of all the teams, think of all the vans, think of all the different places they are, think of all the different jobs we do in a day, right? Two. So get this straight. You know how far removed I am from the actual experience for the customer? Like, like, so on what level do we actually know that they're doing the right thing, right? Obviously we get feedback, reviews and stuff, but I'm saying like that's not like a rah-rah speech that's like, hey guys, go out and crush it. It's like that's built on the culture of what we believe in, and that is how you operate at scale on a big scale.
100%. It's the standard you hold them up to, and the culture is the values that they kind of put out there. And we could track it from a business sense with reviews or complaints or like a sales perspective, activity, leads, calls, all that. It all comes back down to that feedback loop from you, Ryan, Jay, whoever's in a leadership position, to the person executing on the front lines and how they perform, and like instilling that in them. And I mean, if you just take a snapshot or a look back this year, you could see how that's changed with some of the stuff that's been implemented, the period of time of coaching and delegating, and then letting everybody run off and do it. And they're doing good.
100%. And so, you've, I think it's cool, right? You come from, for lack of a better word, graduating class of a bunch of guys that consulted for small businesses. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with Patrick now, so I'm out there jamming with Patrick on Twitter. And then is it
Cassie?
Cassie is there. So like, is it cool to see like these groups that were like consultants that you see them out there like on podcast and they're buying businesses and stuff? Like, is it almost like a
It's
graduating class?
it feels super cool because it's like, man, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Maybe not even a good one. It's like their values in alignment. I know they probably did that for their families and where they wanted to go and what they wanted to accomplish. And the next step was going and buying and acquiring that business and taking it to the next level. But to see them both make the leap from coming where we came from, where it was a pretty good setup. I mean, we learned a lot. There's a lot of talent there in coaching to make the leap. That's kind of the same concept of like the learn versus earn. Like we learned it. Now, are you going to go get in the game and do it as well, and cross the chasm and become, the man or the woman in the arena doing it? And I think I have a soft spot in my heart for anyone who does take that leap. And everyone doesn't need to, yet the ones that do, they're kind of like us, and we could always get along with those kind of people.
Yeah, psychos. Yeah. So you've got two young girls, you got a
Mm-hmm.
wife, you consult, you got us going on. How do you put boundaries around your time, and how do you keep everything straight? Do you feel like you're doing a better job this year than you did last year? How do you go about maintaining young kids but also working and all that stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Definitely doing better this year than last year. Like a couple of years ago, using those two as an example, I think we all left around the same time, and I took that time to spend it with my newborn daughter, who's now 2 years old, and we put a lot of time into family and just hanging out. And getting started again was probably the hardest part of like figuring out what it is to sink my teeth into next. Like I've always had consulting. I've got a great book of business and clients that I've had for many years. Bumping into you was serendipitous, and then now we got CCH, and so that's one big element that's, we talk a lot, so our minds are always on what are we going to do with this, how are we going to grow it, and like how do we make it a good experience for everyone involved. And then just drawing the boundaries between that and some of the other business ventures my wife and I are building up. There's a lot going on, and so time management, it's a little more fluid than I would like, if we're being honest. I wish there were a little more boundaries, yet I think I'm still in that transition period over the next few months here of just letting it come. But at the same time, now that the kids are a little older, I think it will be time to put the boundaries on, have more working time, and like really focus on the next evolution of where we're at, not only for what we have going on, but everything else. Because that whole idea of being in the arena is like a little out of it these last few months or years. It's time to get back in there.
No, it's funny. I talked to all these young kids on Twitter, and they're just. I talked to one the other day, and he's just senior, and then Andrew's working with me. They just don't realize how much time they have, how much freedom they have to just do crazy stuff, to work insane hours and talk to everybody and run over here and like, and don't get me wrong, I still don't have kids. But I'm very busy, right? And so you're trying to fit it in, and then you got the weekend. Like, I really stress to them, like, really live it up, like, talk to everybody, try everything. Because when you get stationary and you have bills and you have all this stuff, you're gonna have to maybe make some decisions that are not completely yours.
100%. I mean, especially as you bring in, significant other, kids, if you choose to buy a house, that's all things that are going to kind of plant you in that situation in life. And so a lot of your decisions are going to be around preserving that or enhancing it. And so if you've got the free time, yeah, go do everything. Go see what you like, right? Because it's the whole idea of figuring out what your values are. What do you want to go do? Who are you? That's a changing thing, but it's also, if you don't do that, it's going to be a lot harder if you do have those other things that require most of your attention. You're just not going to have the space to do it.
Is there anything else on your mind before we get out of here?
Nah, man, we covered some good topics here. It was good to catch up and chat on the podcast here.
No, for sure, man. I appreciate you coming on. Guys, if you got some value from this, send it to a friend, and we'll see you next time.